This is CBC Here and Now.
An external review of the workplace culture at the RNC has revealed a morale problem and a series of recommendations to try and fix things. Those details coming up.
I think a sad story that they didn't care enough.
Their brother died in Montreal, but no one told this family from Labrador why they're finding out 4 years later.
The Confederation Building is flying the Pride flag to officially mark the beginning of St. John's Pride Week. That's coming up.
Good evening, I'm Peter Cowan. A new look at the workplace culture at the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary is raising some red flags. It found the RNC is an effective police force, but it exposed morale problems and other shortcomings. Terry Roberts explains.
This one sentence from Toronto lawyer Harriet Lewis summed it up. I can confirm that there is an issue with morale among the RNC employees. A nearly 8-month investigation into the workplace culture at the RNC gives a rare glimpse inside the force. Suspicions of favoritism and fear of discipline and reprisal. Civilian employees feeling disrespected, undervalued, and underpaid. The promotion system pits officers against each other. The review also exposed that St. John's, Corner Brook, and Labrador West detachments work in silos, as do areas within headquarters. Justice Minister John Hogan released the report this afternoon, and he was careful not to criticize the force.
It's not about blame. It's about figuring out what issues exist there.
But it's the latest revelation to cast a shadow over a force that's no stranger to scandals and negative headlines. From an officer who was convicted for sexual assault to a civil litigation alleging sexual misconduct and intimate partner violence by former and current RNC members. This external report aims to change the culture, with 9 recommendations to help make that happen.
That sort of culture and why it exists doesn't really matter right now, but we need to get to the bottom of it and make sure everyone feels that they're all on the same page at that workplace.
Lewis is recommending a series of changes at the HR level to raise the standard when it comes to job competitions and training. She says management training should be offered to RNC leadership. A review should be undertaken, she says, to be sure officers and civilian staff are being assigned properly. And an office should be established where members can report misconduct without fear of reprisals. Minister Hogan said the Justice Department will review the recommendations, but he stopped short of saying they will all be implemented. And he said there is no timeline here, but that the report is a priority for his department. The report comes at a time when the RNC is undergoing big changes in leadership, and the Justice Minister says he has complete faith in Chief Patrick Roach, who took over in February.
I know he's taken some steps to shore up some of the leadership roles. There's been several promotions, 2 new deputy chiefs of police since he came there, the first female deputy chief of police in the province. So he's working very hard to fill those leadership roles. The release of this report today took many by surprise, and the leadership here at HQ say they'll be commenting next week. The union that represents about 400 officers is also keeping quiet until it's had time to review the report. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Newfoundland and Labrador's Premier and Health Minister were in Bonavista today to unveil an effort to try and improve healthcare in the province. Premier Andrew Furey and Health Minister Tom Osborne visited the local hospital, and this morning they announced a campaign to attract and keep healthcare professionals. It's called Extraordinary Every Day.
We were hearing from residents, we were hearing from the College of Physicians, the family physicians of Newfoundland and Labrador, that we weren't putting our best foot forward in terms of recruiting. Same with the nurses. So we wanted to make sure that we launched a healthy new campaign that isn't ordinary. It's extraordinary here every single day. It's a beautiful place to practice. It's a beautiful place to raise a family. Bonavista has a beautiful backdrop to live, to grow, to reach your personal and professional full capacity here at home.
Now, Bonavista Mayor John Norman was invited to today's campaign launch, but he didn't go. He agrees his community is extraordinary, but he doesn't think it's getting extraordinary health care. Norman says residents don't know from one day to the next if the emergency services will be available in their community. He says the health department has ignored repeated requests from the town for a meeting to discuss health care.
Many of us on the ground, too little too late. And I'd like to know why we have not been engaged by the Department of Health for months and months after various attempts. I find it incredibly disappointing and frustrating as a crisis has been brewing. We have this announcement today in Bonavista, and within the last hour, I had a message come in that tomorrow our ER is closed again.
Eastern Health confirmed that emergency services at the Bonavista Peninsula Healthcare Centre will be temporarily closed due to a human resource challenge. It starts up again until at Monday morning. Well, the City of St. John's has brought in a water conservation order because the weather has been so warm and dry. The city says there's a higher than normal demand for water. The order applies to all municipalities in the region which get their water from the city. Under the order, watering your lawn is permitted at certain times. Residents can wash their cars as long as they're using a shut-off nozzle.
Well, within just a few minutes, you can see the fog rolling in downtown this afternoon. And if we take a look at why that's happening, it's because we've got these relatively light northeast winds for this area. And if we take a look at the temperatures, we're sitting around 21 degrees, a little bit of a humidex there, but feeling more like 26. But if we take a look at the bigger picture, the big satellite, we do have lots of things going on, especially up across Labrador, where we have some thunderstorms, and then we're watching a little system roll through a shower roll through for the Avalon. We may see a few showers in the next little bit across the northeast Avalon, as you can see there as it moves further east. Now, the weekend looking pretty nice. If we take a look at the outlook quickly here, 20s. A good chance this weekend. We may see a few showers. We'll time all of it out for you when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Pride Week officially started today in St. John's with an event at Confederation Building. It's kicking off a week of events celebrating the LGBTQ community and diversity in the province. Here now's Enrique Wilhelm has more.
The flag is up, and Pride Week in St. John's has officially started. The event at the Confederation Building was one for guests old and young.
Ultimately, they're the future. And making sure that they know the proper rights from wrongs and the lessons of inclusion and equality. It's at the grassroots level. You don't get more direct than that.
We need to start with our young people. Education is key. And I think once we bring that awareness into the minds of our young people in the province, I think that's really got to be the starting point.
Most of the events throughout the week are organized by St. John's Pride. Ryan Goss from the organization committee thinks the celebrations first and foremost have a positive focus and an opportunity to celebrate the LGBTQ community. But it's also a chance to raise awareness for existing issues.
When we have these symbolic days or weeks, that's significant and that's important, but really it's just a symbol. And I think it's important for us to carry on these important messages throughout the year. We need to ensure that access to health care for transgender persons, that has to be a number one priority. And I think that's certainly a gap that we're seeing.
We've done a lot of great things as a government with regards to legislative changes for non-binary residents of Newfoundland and Labrador, anti-harassment, anti-discriminatory. It certainly is, a responsible of a government, private industry, but the onus is on every one of us as citizens in Newfoundland and Labrador, as Canadians, people around the world, to be the best people that we can be and to treat everybody with respect.
The flag-raising event here at the Confederation Building today marks the official beginning of St. John's Pride Week, which will culminate in the St. John's Pride Parade next Sunday. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
An Inuit family originally from Labrador wants answers. For 4 years, they heard nothing from their brother, and after doing some digging, they found out Danny Saunders was dead. He was buried in Montreal, but no one contacted any of his 13 brothers and sisters. Chloe Rinaldi has that story.
Danny Saunders' siblings say their final goodbye at his unmarked grave.
Danny was my teddy bear brother. He just reminded me of a big bear that you could hug and love. I loved him. He was my brother.
The family of 14 is originally from Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Labrador. Elizabeth and her brother Tim drove nearly 24 hours to get here from Dryden, Ontario.
Over the years, we just contact each other and say, hey, have you heard from Danny or whatever? And, you know, you just go on and you think, oh, well, he's okay.
It's been 4 years since they heard from Danny, but they say it wasn't unlike him not to reach out.
I used to wish him happy birthdays and communicate on Facebook with him, and no reactions. Figured that he may be just not around and he's just out with friends and on his birthday or whatever.
Then on social media, Danny's neighbor reached out asking where he was. The family did their own research. Then Quebec's coroner's office confirmed he was found dead in March of 2018 at the place he was living as part of a social reintegration program. But the family says they were never contacted.
It's just unacceptable in this day and age with our technology that we have. You know, another one lost through the cracks.
Their sister Joan lives in Montreal. She said police had come to her before about problems with Danny, so she doesn't understand why they didn't contact her this time.
But to get treated this way as a Native person and as someone that was in trouble a few times in his life, I think it's a sad story that they didn't care enough.
To make things worse, there was a mix-up over where Danny's body was buried at the cemetery. The Saunders say they want accountability and for his body to be sent home to Happy Valley Goose Bay.
Somebody made some big mistakes. Big mistakes to let a family of 14 go through this. Thank God my parents aren't alive because I wouldn't want them to go through it.
Quebec's coroner's office says it's up to police to search for the deceased family. Montreal police say in Saunders' case, it made all the efforts, but were unsuccessful. Danny Saunders' name was then posted online on the coroner's website. Chloe Rinaldi, CBC News, Montreal.
Charges against the former CEO of Baffin Fisheries have been dropped. Garth Reid was accused of using the company's money to build a home in Winterton, but the Crown says new information from the police led them to withdraw the criminal case. Ariana Kelland reports.
52-year-old Garth Reid once led the Baffin Fisheries Coalition, but in 2017, the company, which has offices here in Paradise and in Nunavut, terminated him, saying that he had defrauded the company. Last year, he was criminally charged with fraud over $5,000 and breach of trust. But this month, the case went away.
The Director of Public Prosecution says the Crown's office reviewed the case after receiving more information from the RNC. They later determined that there was no longer a reasonable likelihood of a conviction. Strickland didn't say what the new information was or why that decision was made. Chris Flanagan is the current CEO and says the shareholders of the Inuit-owned company are disappointed.
A lot of insight. I did get a call from the Crown, and they suggested perhaps that there was a possibility that the CEO was going to pay the money back, which to me just doesn't hold any water, and to our shareholders also. The Crown stated that there could have been a shadow of a doubt that this could have been a loan.
Baffin Fisheries sued Reid for the money it said it was owed, over $1.4 million, over the construction of this home in Winterton. In 2019, a Supreme Court justice ruled that Reid unlawfully converted company funds for his own personal use. He ordered him to repay over $540,000 plus interest. Baffin Fisheries is still in court attempting to recover the remaining amount, and Reid has countersued. But success in civil court doesn't translate to success in a criminal court, where there needs to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Flanagan doesn't think the police put enough resources into the case. The RNC, meanwhile, tells CBC News it fully investigated the case. But Flanagan says it's left shareholders with questions.
They really wonder why so little effort was put into pursuing this case on behalf of the victims, who really, the victims are 50% of the Inuit beneficiaries of Nunavut.
In an email, Garth Reid said that he wouldn't be doing interviews until all of the civil matters are finished in court. However, he has denied the allegations in past civil cases. He says he's willing to do an interview with his lawyers after all matters are concluded. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, highways in this province are getting a little bit friendlier for electric vehicles. 19 more charging sites, just like this one, are coming online this year. This one was unveiled in Paradise today. Others are coming in Bonavista, St. Anthony, Labrador City, Happy Valley Goose Bay. Each site has a level 2 charger as well as a fast charger, and officials hope it moves some more people to consider plug-in vehicles.
Most charging is done at home. I believe the statistic is around 90%. So most of your charging is like having a gas station at your house is what most of your charging is going to happen. But to go to Gander, Corner Brook, drive up to Labrador, you do need access to fast charging stations. And so this is what this is going to do. It's going to help folks get comfortable with the purchase of a vehicle so that they know when they do want to make those long drives, they can certainly do that safely and quickly.
For the second time in a week, an abandoned pet turtle has been discovered near Bowering Park in St. John's. On Thursday, an environmental researcher spotted a turtle in the Waterford River, right around the corner from where another turtle was captured on Monday. Is it a coincidence or a sign of a larger issue? Here now's Zach Gowdy spoke with the woman who made the latest sighting.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Blunden. I work for Northeast Avalon Atlantic Coastal Action Program. Yeah, so we're currently located on Waterford Bridge Road, just down from Bowering Park. And this morning I was working with my colleague and we were walking along the river doing some site assessments for what we do. And as we were walking along the river here, there was a little pop in the river. Usually we would assume it'd be a fish. And to our surprise, we ended up finding out that it was actually a turtle.
So what was your reaction when you saw this turtle down there blipping in the water?
Being aware of the way people are and releasing pets, I immediately thought, okay, this turtle doesn't belong here and it must have been released at some given point recently.
Jennifer, were you aware that recently another red-eared slider turtle, likely a former pet, was discovered living in the duck pond just around the corner in Bowering Park?
I actually was not. After finding out that I've seen it there and did a bit of research trying to locate a number to call. So it took a little bit of time to figure that out, but the significance of finding two in the same area is just huge.
How do you think this is happening, that pet turtles or former pet turtles, likely former pet turtles, are winding up in places like this to begin with?
I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that people aren't aware of the hazards that they're causing by releasing the pets into the waterways, and that they think that they're doing them a favor. However, it actually ends up causing a lot of ecosystem damage over long term. Given their invasiveness elsewhere in Canada, finding two in the same area just, it causes reason for concern for potential, mating situations and further invasiveness, especially given how much fish is in the river and how much food is potentially there, and that it is a very habitable river, that invasive potential is definitely there. It's something that we don't want to see more of. As much as this is interesting, it's definitely a reason for concern.
Well, downtown has disappeared thanks to the fog monster. The weekend looking pretty nice though in some cases. Definitely some warm temperatures. I'll break it all down for you coming up.
Actually, some pretty decent July temperatures across the province today. Labrador chalking up a few more 20-plus degree days. I know there'll be some people there that are very happy to see them.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully, you know, a little less rain than we've been seeing up across Labrador.
Oh,
sure.
You want it to be dry and warm. It's so demanding.
Lots of people have put in their order. I'm working on it. But yeah, it has been warm, finally. Some 20-degree temperatures up across Labrador. Let's take a look at those daytime highs there. 20 in Cartwright, right on the nose, and 21 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Unfortunately, though, Makovic, Hopedale still in those single digits this afternoon. If we take a look at the temperatures across the island, in the teens, high teens for the essentially western half of the island, and we do have some 20-degree temperatures in play for Gander at about 23 this afternoon. So taking a look at what's happening right now and where that humidex is sitting, it's feeling more like 26 in St. John's, but if you're downtown, much cooler as that fog has moved in. And Badger sitting at about 18 degrees right now. Same thing in Stephenville, and then up across Labrador, temperatures now up only 4 degrees in Nain right this second. So we do have lots of activity happening up across Labrador as far as thunderstorms go. That is where we saw the majority of the thunderstorms. Well, that's where we saw all of the thunderstorms earlier today. And if we zoom in, you can see them not showing the lightning on this map, but you can see where it looks like popcorn, the more textured clouds. That's where we're seeing all of that lightning, particularly around Happy Valley Goose Bay and then further east as you head towards the coast. Even offshore, off of the northern peninsula, we're seeing a few lightning strikes right now as well. Some shower activity through central, not a whole lot, but still seeing some showers. And then that cell, the shower cell that developed earlier, you can really see, it's actually kind of cool on the satellite. You can see this sea breeze front. That's where those cloud cover was earlier today. That cell actually fired right off of that. But then as that southwesterly flow picked up, that sea breeze is gone. And the showers are working their way further east. Looks like they're diminished at the moment. They're further towards the south. So if they do continue to work their way further east, just a few showers, nothing too significant. And that should be it for the island, other than, or rather the Avalon, other than maybe some drizzle developing with some of that fog closer to the coast. The shower activity through central will continue to work its way further east. There's a better chance that we'll see those showers overnight. And then for the southeastern portions of Labrador, you're looking at the thunderstorm activity heading further east as well as we get into the morning hours, maybe even the northern peninsula as we get into the early morning hours. Overall, tonight temperatures will be the warmest the further east you go, so about 13 degrees for St. John's overnight tonight, single digits as you head towards the west coast, northern peninsula. Same thing up across Labrador, Happy Valley, Goose Bay. You should hover around 10 degrees through the overnight tonight. Now taking a look at the future tracker for tomorrow, actually looking like a fairly nice day. The shower activity for southeastern Labrador will continue, but it'll eventually taper off. And then we may see a few showers develop across central as well. Slight chance we could hear a few rumbles of thunder, but it should just be some shower activity. Same thing for Labrador, Lab West anyway. You may hear a few rumbles of thunder as the day goes on as well, and those showers will continue to work their way east. They may clip the northern northwest Avalon as we head into the evening hours as well. Otherwise, those showers will continue to work their way across the Big Land as we get into the overnight and early Sunday morning. Now, there's that risk of thunderstorms, as I was talking about a little bit earlier tomorrow for Lab West. Tomorrow's temperatures looking beautiful into the 20s for most areas. 24 degrees in St. John's. I do have that sunshine in there. We may see a few cloudy periods, but overall looking absolutely beautiful. Similar forecast as you head towards central, keeping that chance of showers in there though for you. And then the northern peninsula as well. Temperatures a bit cooler, about 16 degrees as the daytime high. Up across Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures in the 20s as well for Lab City, Happy Valley, Goose Bay. 18 in Nain tomorrow, lots of sunshine, and then that chance of showers for coastal areas. So if you're planning on enjoying the weather tomorrow and you're going out for the food fishery, the seas look actually pretty good. We're talking about 1 meter seas at most. It looks like through the day on Saturday, even less as as we head into Sunday, and then same thing for Monday. And as far as those winds are concerned, like I said, they'll be a bit breezy through the afternoon on Saturday. They'll generally be out of the west, except along the coast. You may see some variable winds there, but they could be gusting between 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Same thing as we head into Sunday as well. We'll talk about the rest of the long-range forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. The province's newest Stanley Cup winner is going to be bringing the cup to St. John's next month. Alex Newhook made the announcement online just a short time ago. He says there will be a parade and a reception with the cup in St. John's. The date, August 22nd. Of course, his team, the Colorado Avalanche, won the cup a couple of weeks ago, beating the Tampa Bay Lightning. Newhook is the third Newfoundland hockey player to win the Stanley Cup, following Danny Cleary in 2008 and Michael Ryder in 2011, which would make it the last time the cup came to the province, along with a winner.
Worked so hard for our rights. We've worked so hard for them. And some of the people here will be telling those stories.
Come Home Year events are underway. Next, we'll take you to Conception Bay North for Come Home Queer. Then we head to St. John's for Come Home to Craft with the Craft Council. And coming up on CBC Radio this weekend, there's a birthday party for a 100-year-old flute. Find out about the flute and plans to celebrate it. That's on Weekend AM with Heather Barrett, Saturday and Sunday mornings. It's not just Pride Week in St. John's. People are also celebrating this weekend in Conception Bay North. It's an event connected to this summer's Come Home Year celebrations called Come Home Queer.
When the news came out about Come Home Year, I thought, okay, what is something different? Who do I want to see come home? Who needs to come home? And I thought, you know, as a lesbian and a lesbian activist for so many years, I thought of the many queer people who left Newfoundland because for some of them it was too hard to be who they were years and years ago, and for some because they wanted to experience something else in the world. And so I said, let's get queers coming back home.
It's like being wrapped in a really warm blanket. So far for me, and I've only been here a half a day. I got late last night, I got in, and so far today I've seen so many beautiful people, some that I haven't even seen now for like a little couple here already for almost 30 years. And it's just the warmth and the beauty and the peacefulness.
Coming home to a Bay community, we may have some people here this year that may find it a little sad because they're here in this Bay. They may not be in the Bay that they grew up in because it still may not be safe. So there is some of that too.
They asked me to do the catering, and we're going to supply the famous moose stew, and we got our homemade biscuits and that going, and our desserts and cheesecakes. It's a great opportunity for the small town here. It brings in a lot of extra money, brings in a lot of extra people coming through, getting to see the different community.
I hope people see that we have something unique here to offer. We're welcoming and we're hoping to grow, and to see people come out and organize a wonderful event like this makes me optimistic for the future of our town and rural Newfoundland in general.
We've worked so hard for our rights. We've worked so hard for them. And some of the people here will be telling those stories. But one thing we know is that our rights are never given to us. They're really hard won. And I think this weekend is a celebration of that as well. Right now, in these special times when there's so much intolerance, when there's so much hate, to see the opposite of that in this town and in this festival. How lucky are we?
Among the Come Home Year celebrations this year is a big craft show. It's called Come Home to Craft. It's hosted by the Craft Council, and they're calling it a celebration of craft, music, and culture. We stopped by the event.
This is the Craft Council of Newfoundland and Labrador's Come Home to Craft Festival. It's a 4-day celebration of craft and community and culture. And really the first time a lot of us have been back together in the last 2 years, so it's very exciting.
Great to see everybody. What a day. Seriously, what a day. I'm going to remind you throughout the day of some of our vendors that you should have a look at.
I grew up in Corner Brook area, and I lived in the Humber Valley for a long time. And I was a farmer there, so any trees that I cut down, I put aside, and they were large, mostly yellow birch trees. I put aside, I spalted them, which is starting the rotting process, and then you stop that process. And I use it in the wood today. So a lot of the wood that I have here, I've had for 30, 40 years.
We have craft demonstrations happening all weekend, lots of things for kids and families. And of course we have over 25 craft vendors, which is what we'd really love you to come out to support.
lot of people will have to make and accept change if the healthcare system is going to improve. That's according to the lead authors of the Health Accord NL. Dr. Pat Parfrey and Sister Elizabeth Davis were guests on CBC Radio's Crosstalk this week. Here's some of that conversation.
Let me see. It was June 6th. Premier Andrew Furey announced you've been appointed as Deputy Minister of Health Transformation in the Office of the Executive Council. Did you know when you're starting this that you would end up kind of going like? I'm kind of thinking of Michael Corleone in The Godfather 3. Just as I'm out, pull me back in. Did you know this?
Not at all. I mean, the last thing I thought I'd be in the world was a bureaucrat. Come on, give me a break. I'm in my real life, I'm a rugby coach, and you know what they're like.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar from my time at the Bayman playing against the Swailers.
So, I mean, I never, ever thought that I would be a bureaucrat. But I think that one of us had to try and implement this plan in a manner that had standing in the government arena.
It's just such an enormous thing to do. And there's so many responsibilities around it. And I guess where you've been involved with the planning up to date, the messaging of them asking you to do this, that must be an optimistic thing for you both to see this, the request come in?
For me, certainly it was. Once the Premier asked Pat and he said yes to accept the position, that was a very strong signal to us that the government was intentional about making this happen.
We've got the pandemic, we've got staffing shortages, lots of things going on there. It's a national issue of emergency rooms not being open. How can this plan, or how will this plan, if implemented, fix these types of things?
There's unanimous support for team-based care. By that I mean doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners and paramedics and allied health professionals and elder care workers all working together to serve the person and their families within a particular region. The unanimous support. And the government has already committed money in the last year, 24 million, to these types of collaborative team solutions. Plus the Accord recommends extrapolating those types of collaborative community teams to the entire population. So to my way of thinking, that's a policy that's kind of made. And then there's somebody hired for recruitment and retention. All of this is consistent with the Health Accord, but then it's down to the basics. How do you implement those policies? You know, licensing changes, training program changes, recruitment of international medical graduates, a more stable system, putting these teams into place so people are attracted by them. A resolution to the critical emergency system and transferring people from isolated places into where they need to serve, where the services are. How do you use virtual care? And then how do you innovate in a situation where you just don't have enough providers in a particular place? So the situation in Central is an example. Is how do you, if you can't get doctors in Harbour Breton, how does Grand Falls interrelate with that community so that they're getting the care that they need as you're transitioning to having these community teams. So there's no doubt that it's a massive challenge, and there's no doubt that I never saw any doctors hanging on a tree outside when I came in that you can pick up off and put them down somewhere. So it is going to be a massive challenge. So the key for us is to implement our solutions consistent with the directions that we think that have been recommended in the Health Accord. And over time, I'm optimistic it'll be better.
The Nova Scotia public inquiry into the 2020 mass shooting heard from the longtime partner of gunman Gabriel Worthman. Lisa Banfield's common-law spouse was responsible for the shooting rampage that began on April 18, 2020, killing 22 people. She recounted how they met, where they lived, and the constant presence of guns. The CBC's Blair Rhodes has more, but first a warning, the details in the story are disturbing.
This is what haunts me, is because I feel like he was targeting me and my family. And if I didn't get out of that car, I often think, would any of those people have died? So that's something that haunts me all the time, because I feel that they weren't targeted, that he was looking for me in the beginning,
It was one of the many times that Lisa Banfield broke down on the witness stand. She was asked whether she could think of any reason why her partner, Gabriel Wortman, might have targeted the 22 people. Some of them were neighbors. Some of them were strangers. Banfield says she fears the 13 who were shot in Portapic were killed as he hunted for her. She could offer no explanation for the other deaths. On the night of April 18, 2020, the pair had fought. He'd thrown her in the back of his replica police car. She managed to escape and hid in the woods. She says she heard gunshots, then saw another building burst into flames. Then, she says, she heard 2 men.
I could hear them freaking out, and then I heard, "Hey, boys," and then bang, bang, and then there was nothing.
She says she was too afraid to show herself and remained huddled in the woods until morning. Long before that, Banfield says she knew the weapons he collected were illegal.
Did you ever think of reporting them?
No,
Were you worried that he might use them to hurt others?
no,
Were you worried that he might use them to hurt you?
yeah.
Moments later, she explained why she felt that way.
If we had a fight, he put the gun to my head to scare me and said that he could blow off my head.
But Banfield's testimony failed to satisfy the families who were in attendance.
Do I believe she was abused? Yes. But do I believe that that's what this April 18th and 19th was about? Absolutely not.
Many of the families and their lawyers walked out of the hearing to once again protest their inability to pose questions directly to Banfield. That's a position they've held since it was first announced how she would get to tell her story. Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Halifax.
MPs on the House of Commons Industry Committee have voted to investigate the massive Rogers outage a week ago. They'll examine the impact it had on consumers, families, and businesses, and how to prevent it from happening in the future. The widespread outage on July 8th affected millions of Canadians, knocking out mobile and internet service and also ATM and Interact payments across parts of the country for more than 15 hours. It even prevented calls to 911 in some Canadian cities. The committee will hold at least 2 meetings by the end of the month. American basketball star Brittany Griner returned to a Russian court today. Lawyers defending Griner told the court she was prescribed medical cannabis in the U.S. for a chronic injury. Her defense team submitted documents from a U.S. doctor recommending she use it to treat pain, as well as medical records they say shows Griner's history of injuries that have resulted in severe pain. The WNBA star pleaded guilty to drug charges last week, but she said she didn't intend to bring the vape canisters in her luggage. She faces a prison sentence of up to 10 years if convicted. Griner has been detained since February after customs officials in Moscow said they found cannabis oil in her luggage. People in London are sweating through a scorching July. Heat alerts have been issued for much of England and Wales. It's part of a heat wave hitting a big swath of Europe. Wildfires in southwestern France are being made worse by the scorching heat and the strong winds. Hundreds of people have had to leave their homes. Tourists enjoying sun-soaked days in southern Spain saw plumes of smoke billowing from nearby hills. Spain has set an alert for wildfires across much of the country. Temperatures have dipped a little bit in Portugal, but they're still topping 40 degrees. A foundation in Quebec that trains guide and service dogs is starting a special pilot program this summer. They're training canines to comfort victims of domestic and sexual violence. CBC's Rowan Kennedy takes a look firsthand at what it takes to prepare these pups.
Pomelo. Okay.
Karen Winter has been with the Mira Foundation for more than 20 years. She trains dogs to perform specialized tasks like guiding people with reduced eyesight or mobility.
This is a guide dog harness.
They may not have a briefcase, but these dogs will soon have a job. All the dogs here are in training. They're all between 1 and 2 years old. They all have different temperaments, but Winter says that some would work really well in a new program to help victims of conjugal violence in courthouses.
Wicket. She would be a wonderful special projects dog. They have to be very, very friendly, very affectionate, and love to be petted.
With the help of the province's Victim Assistance Centre, Mira is training Courthouse emotional support dogs. Courthouses in 8 cities already have one. 2 more will be ready in the coming months. The dogs accompany victims as they testify against their abusers.
The calmness of the dog makes them, it transmits a calm into the person, soothes them, and they can keep talking.
Quebec is incorporating the program into its new specialized courts for cases involving domestic and sexual violence. The courts aim to help victims feel less isolated and not re-traumatized by the process. The pilot project ends in 2024, and the government hopes to expand it afterwards. Winter wants to see emotional support dogs in every courthouse in the province. Rowan Kennedy, CBC News, Sainte Marie-Madeleine.
It's time to celebrate a few milestones. Dave and Linda Snook, who used to live in Sunnyside and Heart's Content, but now live in Mount Pearl, are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. Dennis and Shirley Gaslard of Port au Choix celebrated their 53rd wedding anniversary. Happy 60th anniversary to Dawn and Betty Tolk, celebrating 60 years of marriage. Happy 50th anniversary to Joanne and Chess Foot, living in Appleton. Happy 50th anniversary to Boyd and Nancy Coles of Aspen Cove and Ladle Cove. Gloria and Boyd Morgan of Portagrave are celebrating their 50th anniversary. Happy 50th anniversary to Melinda and Ross Han of Burgeo. Happy 53rd wedding anniversary to Kaywood and Dora Rideout of Cornerbrook. Happy 50th anniversary to Brenda and Eugene Biggin of Parsons Pond. Happiest of anniversary wishes going out to Ruth and Harry Saunders on 63 years together. Congratulations. Jim and Bernice Hayes of Georgetown Conception Bay are celebrating 53 years of marriage. Happy 50th anniversary to Grace and Don Stockley, who live in Dildo. Happy 50th anniversary to Bruce and Jacqueline LeGros of Stephenville. Happy 57th wedding anniversary to Gladys and Tom Grandy of Grand Bank. Happy 59th anniversary to Cletus and Rita Parsons of St. John's, formerly of Gladys Harbor, Southwest Placentia Bay. Happy anniversary to George and Doris Fudge of François, celebrating their 53 years of marriage. Ray and Madonna Gulliver of Paradise are celebrating 58 years of marriage. Happy 50th anniversary to Pastors Bryce and Elma Austin. Happy 50th anniversary going out to Byron and Gloria Mitchell from Cornerbrook. Herb and Marjorie Carruthers of Logie Bay celebrated their 60th anniversary this month. Congratulations. Happy 50th anniversary to Paul and Jerry Dalton of Conception Harbor. It's another big one. Happy 63 years together for Reggie and Lucy Parsons. Happy 57th anniversary to Margaret and Harvey Hunt from Centerville, Wareham, Trinity. Happy 58th anniversary to Daphne and Wilfred Jackson of Cavendish. Happy 62nd anniversary to Max and Joan Burt of St. John's. Percy and Loretta Benoit from Stephenville area, they now live in Avondale, are celebrating their 59th anniversary. Happy 50th anniversary to Clarence and Pauline. We don't have a last name here, but if they're friends and family of yours, you know who they are. Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Kevin and Edwina Walsh from Bay Bulls. Now to some birthdays. Marie Daw of Gander is celebrating her 92nd birthday. Happy 92nd birthday as well for Vera Hagen. Happy 91st birthday to Eileen Dwyer from Carbonear. Happy 95th birthday to Angela Fleming from Torbay. Happy 90th birthday to Julia Mahar. She's from Bird Cove, now living in Port Saunders on the Great Northern Peninsula. Cheers. Wishing Peter Williams a happy 93rd birthday. He lives in Happy Valley Goose Bay. It's also a 93rd birthday for Jane Rousel of Port Blandford. Happy 90th birthday to Lillian Caravan of Grand Falls, Windsor. Happy 97th birthday to Vera Buck. Vera lives in Mount Pearl. Wishing Austin Patey a very happy 90th birthday. It's also a 90th birthday for Elsie Pendergast from Portugal Cove, St. Philip's. It's a big milestone for Alma Chafe. Happy 100th birthday. Congratulations. And we've got another 100th birthday to celebrate. Emily Coates from Glenwood, who now lives in Gander. Congratulations to you too. Happy birthday to Lillian Elson, turning 93 today from Mary's Harbor. Happy 90th birthday to Edgar Penny of Cornerbrook. And we're going to end with a big one. Wishing Trixie Hines of Stephenville a happy 107th birthday. Her family says they believe she may be the oldest person in Newfoundland. They're not quite sure, but here she is with 5 generations. Her daughter Beatrice, her granddaughter Dallas, her great-granddaughter Shauna, and her great-grandson Ryan, as well as her great-great-grandson Dax, which is her first great-great-grandchild. Congratulations, lots of people to help you celebrate.
Wow, incredible. 107 years old. Well, you've got some nice weather to celebrate this weekend, that's for sure, especially as we head into Sunday. Take a look at these temperatures. Should be in the mid to high 20s pretty much across the board for the island. A little cooler for the northern peninsula. Same thing for the south coast, but that's just because you're in onshore flow. But overall, it will feel fairly nice, and we're looking at the chance of a few showers in the afternoon, but other than that, you should see plenty of sunshine as the day goes on. Up across Labrador, those temperatures in the 20s as well. Lab City, Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Towards the coast, your temperatures will be in the high teens, but also the chance of showers. Now, as we look ahead to Sunday evening, and into Monday, it does look like Monday should stay unsettled up across the big land. More showers on the way for you. And then across the island, sun and cloud again, but also the chance of a few showers sticking around as we get into the afternoon and evening hours pretty much across the board. Temperatures again staying quite mild, pretty much not moving too much from Sunday, maybe a degree or two here and there, but overall temperatures will be in the 20s again, mid to high 20s through central, and then even the northern peninsula, you'll see your temperatures flirting with the 20-degree mark, maybe even 21 in St. Anthony. Up across Labrador, your temperatures into the 20s again for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 13 degrees in Nain and 18 in Cartwright. Now taking a look at the long-range forecast, doesn't look too bad as far as those temperatures go. Nice stretch of some pretty mild air. Overnight lows staying pretty mild as well. However, it will stay unsettled with the chance of some showers. Looks more gray on Wednesday with the showers continuing. As far as central and western Newfoundland go, by the time we get into next week, Tuesday and Wednesday looking gray at this point. Some periods of rain in the forecast as well. But temperatures will be mild, 24 to 25 degrees for most, a little cooler for the west coast. And then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at a few showers Tuesday night, continuing through the day on Wednesday. Temperatures in the 20s, a little cooler for western Labrador. Still nice though, around 18 or 19 degrees. Take a look at this shot. This is Bella Island. Melissa captured this wonderful shot from the water there. Thank you so much for that. And if you have any weather photos you would like to share with us, send them to my Facebook, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
It's cool to see it from that perspective. I normally am up top looking down, so don't get to see it from the water.
No, and the turquoise water is so beautiful. I love it every time I see that.
Oh yeah, no, and looks like some pretty decent weather this weekend for heading out. I'm hoping to get a few fish myself, so...
Save me one, please.
Yep, we'll see what we can do. And that's it for us, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.
Good night.